Hello everybody, welcome back to English Building Blocks. Today we're going to talk about the present perfect simple and the present perfect continuous. Now this may seem difficult at first, but really it isn't that difficult, you'll see. Remember, if you like these videos, please subscribe, okay? And now let's have a look at that present perfect simple and present perfect continuous. So let's have a look first at the construction. Firstly, the present perfect simple. In this case, we use the auxiliary verb to have followed by the past participle. For example, I have finished or we have eaten. Now remember that past participle can be regular, finished, or irregular, eaten. Okay? Then, secondly, the present perfect continuous. Now here we will make a combination of the perfect and continuous tense, okay? So we will use have and the past participle on the one hand, and on the other hand, we'll use the verb to be and the gerund. So this results into using the auxiliary verb to have, a combination of the past participle and the verb to be, which is been, and then lastly we use the gerund, okay? For example, I have been reading or they have been watching, okay? Now remember, when using the third person singular, you use the auxiliary verb has, both in present perfect simple and continuous. For example, he has listened, she has been working, or it has been raining, okay? Secondly, when do we use the present perfect simple? When do we use the present perfect continuous? Both are very similar in use because both express an action that started in the past and has a relation to the present. So what is the difference? Well, the difference basically is what you want to remark, what you want to emphasize, okay? So let's begin with the present perfect simple. Now, when using the present perfect simple, you want to remark or the result, the finished action, or a quantity, or a frequency, okay? Now, let's have a look at some examples. First one, Tom has washed his car. So here I use the present perfect simple because I want to remark, I want to emphasize the finished action, the result. Here the result is a washed car, a clean car, okay? And that's why I use the present perfect simple, okay? Second example, I have read 20 pages. Now, in this case, I want to remark or emphasize a quantity, 20 pages, okay? And that's why I use the present perfect simple. Last example, Jessica has done this many times. In this last case, I want to stress, I want to remark the frequency, many times. And again, that's why I use the present perfect simple, okay? On the other hand, when do we use the present perfect continuous? Well, when using the present perfect continuous, you want to emphasize or the action itself, or an ongoing action. Maybe you want to remark the time of the action, or you're referring to present evidence based on a recent action. Okay, now again, let's have a look at some examples. First one, I've been listening to some jazz to wind down, to relax. So here I'm simply referring to the action itself. I'm not referring to a result, okay? And that is why I use the present perfect continuous. I have been listening to some jazz, okay? Second example, we have been working really hard and we still have a long way to go. So in this example, I'm remarking the fact that we have not finished the action. This is an ongoing action, an action that has started but not finished. So we have started working, but we haven't finished working. And that's why I use the present perfect continuous. We have been working really hard, okay? Third example, I have been reading for 3 hours. So in this case, I want to stress the time for 3 hours, which maybe you consider a long period of time, okay? And that's why, again, you use the present perfect continuous, okay? I have been reading for 3 hours. And lastly, I'm really red because I've been running. My face is red because I have been running. So here I'm referring to present evidence, a red face, because of the action. And that's why I use the present perfect continuous. Because of the action I have been running, my face is really red, okay? And now let's practice this a little bit, shall we? So I'm going to give you some sentences and you have to decide whether to use the present perfect simple or the present perfect continuous. For each sentence, if you want to, you can pause the video and think a little bit, okay? So let's have a look. First example. We to work on our project all afternoon, but we haven't finished yet. So if you want to, you can pause the video now. So the correct answer is the present perfect continuous. We have been working on our project all afternoon, but it isn't finished yet. Why? Because we're stressing an ongoing action, an action that has started, but it hasn't finished yet. So we started working on our project, but we haven't finished yet. And that's why we use the present perfect continuous. We have been working on our project all afternoon. Okay? Second example. James to water all the plants so you don't have to do it anymore. Okay? So again, you can pause the video if you want to. And here the correct answer is the present perfect simple. James has watered all the plants so you don't have to do it anymore. Why? Because here we want to stress a finished action, a result, okay? James has watered all the plants. That action is finished, so you don't have to do it anymore, okay? Good. Third example. The streets are flooded. It to rain quite heavily. Again, you can pause the video if you want to. Here we use the present perfect continuous. It has been raining quite heavily. Why? Because in this case, as there is present evidence, the streets are flooded, of a recent action, it has been raining quite heavily, we use the present perfect continuous, okay? And last example. I to watch 2 episodes so far, I still have 5 to go. Again, if you want to, you can pause the video. In this case, we use the present perfect simple. I have watched 2 episodes so far, okay? Because we want to remark, we want to stress a quantity, 2 episodes, and that's why we use the present perfect simple, okay? And lastly, let's have a look at some observations. Firstly, When using a stative verb, then you have to use the present perfect simple. For example, I have depended on my parents for way too long. I'm going to live on my own. So here we use the verb to depend, and that is clearly a stative verb. This is not a dynamic verb, so you need to use the present perfect simple. I have depended on my parents for way too long. Okay? Secondly, when referring to an ongoing state, not an ongoing action, but an ongoing state, then again, you have to use the present perfect simple. For example, I have lived in Liverpool for 3 years. So this is clearly an ongoing state, a state that has started but not finished. We don't consider this an action, right? And that's why you use the present perfect simple. I have lived in Liverpool for 3 years. And lastly, when you're referring to a temporary situation, then you should use the present perfect continuous. For example, I normally go to work by car, but I'm having it serviced. So I've been going by bus for the last couple of days. So me going to work by bus is clearly a temporary situation because I normally go by car, right? And that's why I use the present perfect continuous. I've been going by bus to work for the last couple of days, okay? Now, that's it for today. I hope you have learned something, and if so, subscribe, okay? Leave a comment, give the thumbs up, or just click the notification bell, okay? Again, thank you for watching. Till next time. Bye-bye.